Toolbox Talk 009, First Aid and Mental Health First Aid. This talk provides information on first aid. This is the aid given for the purpose of preserving life and minimising the consequences of injury and illness. The law with respect to this is in the Health and Safety First Aid Regulations 1981, where an employer's responsibilities are laid out. The employer's responsibilities: make provision for employees to receive first aid treatment, provide adequate and appropriate first aid equipment and facilities, provide an adequate number of suitable persons to administer first aid to employees who are injured or become ill at work, appoint a person to take charge of first aid facilities and equipment if the first aider is absent, and inform employees of first aid provisions, including the location of equipment, facilities and personnel. Employees must ensure that they are aware of the appropriate supervisor to who to report any injuries and on-the-job accidents. Employees must take reasonable care of their own health and safety and that of other people who may be affected by their work. And employees must cooperate with the employer's health and safety arrangements, report all injuries to a supervisor. Even minor ones may become major ones, and it's important to have a rough timeline of events if someone's health takes a turn for the worse. And seek first aid for even minor injuries. Always disinfect cuts and scrapes. The first aider responsibilities: keeping skills up to date. Ensure you know where the first aid kit is kept. Fill in an accident record form whenever an accident occurs. Informing line managers of the impending expiry of their first aid certificate when held, at least 6 months in advance of the expiry of the certificate. And first aiders should observe standard infection control procedures when called to administer first aid. Mental first aid. Generally, the purpose of a mental health first aider is to be a point of contact for employees if they are experiencing emotional distress or suffering with mental health problems, stress, anxiety or depression. Mental health first aiders are trained to listen. They are trained to spot the early signs of mental ill health in others. They are taught to confidently signpost somebody to appropriate support, both internal and external. And they are equipped to deal with emergencies too, such as psychosis, thoughts of suicide or attempted suicide. It is important to note, however, that a mental health first aiders are not qualified therapists, counsellors or psychiatrists, so cannot advise, but they can listen and offer support options. They are trained to maintain confidentiality unless someone's physical safety or life is at risk, to spot early signs of mental ill health, to assess the risk of self-harm or suicide, to listen to what people are saying without judgment, to know when to contact the emergency service if it's required, to care for their own physical safety and mental well-being, to know how to start a conversation with somebody who may be experiencing emotional or mental ill health, and to encourage people to use additional support that's available, including internal and external support systems, and complete critical incident documents where necessary. How to spot mental health issues at work: uncharacteristic behaviour, low levels of engagement, decreasing in productivity, disinterest in work or day-to-day activities, increased absence, changes in work patterns, and irrational fears, paranoia or anxiety. Employee self-assessment. If an employee is experiencing several mental illness warning signs at one time, they may want to reach out to a manager or mental health professional for help. If you're concerned about a colleague, talk to your direct line manager, who will then inform the MHEA representative. He or she will then assess the information and act on it accordingly with the individual concerned. Also, if you're concerned about a colleague, identify someone you feel comfortable with and who will be supportive. You may want to think about what you want to disclose, who to, and when a good time and place to do this could be.